Hello everyone, I am Ruth Norton with Ruth's Stamping Corner, and today I have an interesting little pop-up card to share with you today. This is like a diagonal pop-up. I'm not sure what it's being called. I saw Wendy Cranford make a card like this not too long ago, and I thought that is fantastic, and I so wanted to make one. So I'm going to show you how I did it, and I will link to Wendy Cranford's page too. So the belly band slides off, and then when you open the card, have all of these fun diagonal pieces that pop up, they pop out, they fold up, and they pop out. It is just such a fun card. It's a fun interaction card that anybody would love. Kids would love it, adults would love it, anybody would love it. And then you just slide your belly band back on to mail it or to give it away. All right, so I'm going to show you how to do it. We're actually not going to do any stamping, but let me talk about the stamps that I did use on this. So the stamp set that I used was the Sweetest Cherries stamp set, and I actually used the punch as well. I used the entire bundle. You can get this 10% off when you actually bundle it. And so you can see how much fun these stamps are. So it says, "Life is sweet with you in it," and then I have cherries all over this card. Okay, so you can definitely create this card with this stamp set. You can use any other stamp set you want, and I'm going to show you the DSP that I used for this too. You can shop for all of these supplies in my online store. They are all linked below. And the DSP, let me see, I did not grab it. Where is it? It is called the Pretty Prints, and this DSP is simply gorgeous. You get it in like Blackberry Bliss and Bermuda Bay. It is a stunning DSP package. And it's one that maybe you wouldn't pair with the cherries, but I think it works out beautifully. I think this is a gorgeous card. So let's actually get to the actual card, all right? So first thing we're going to do is you are going to start with a piece that is 12 by 5.5. Now normally I score on my Simply Scored, but today we're going to do all of our scoring on our paper trimmer. So what we're going to do, we have 5.5 by 12. We're going to score it at 4 inches on each side. So I'm going to use my scoring one. The scoring one is the light gray one. The cutting one is the dark gray one. So make sure you are scoring and not cutting. So we're going to score that, and I'm going to flip it all the way around. And I'm going to score it again at 4. All right, now I'm going to put my paper trimmer off to the side. We are going to come right back to this, so don't put it too far. We're just going to do a few little marks. Let me open this up so you can kind of see what we are marking. All right, so we are marking this first score line right here from the top down 2 inches. And on the second score line, we're going to mark it from the bottom up 2 inches. So let me show you what I mean. I'm going to use a pencil, and I'm going to grab a ruler. And let's burnish these score lines first. Let me grab my bone folder here. We're going to burnish these score lines kind of in a zigzag pattern, kind of in a Z. Okay. Make sure these are nice and burnished. And what we're going to do, this is the easiest way that I found to do it. If you know of an easier way, you're welcome to that. So I'm going to line up my ruler right at the top of my cardstock, and I'm going to go down 2 inches. And oops, no, that's not 2. That was like 1 and something. So I'm going to mark it at 2 inches right there. I'm going to kind of go a little darker than I normally would, just so hopefully you can see it. So that's my 2-inch mark right here. I'm going to draw that score line as well. All right, and we're going to do the same thing on this side. So we're going to line up that 2-inch mark with the edge of the cardstock. We're going to go up and mark it at 2 inches. Okay, so I hope the camera's picking up those little marks that I made. All right, now before we put our ruler away, before we bring our paper trimmer back out, we're going to bring in our DSP. These pieces of DSP are going to go on the cover, on the front, but we also need to mark those as well because they get trimmed up as well, as you can see. And you could do another piece of DSP in the middle if you wanted. You do have to mark it twice though. So just keep that in mind, or you can do a piece of white paper in the middle. All right, so for the front, we are going to mark it at 1 5/8. So again, we're gonna start at the top and do 1 5/8. And 5/8 is the one right past 1.5. So I'm gonna mark that one at 1 5/8, and that's gonna be from the top down. Okay, for this one, we're going to go from the bottom up at 1 5/8. Let me push that off to the side. 1 5/8. I'm going to line it up there and then give it a mark right here. Okay, so we have all of our pieces marked. So let's get to cutting now. So I'm going to bring in my paper trimmer again. and we're gonna do some cutting. So let's start with the DSP. So I have it marked here, and I wanna cut it diagonally down to this corner. So I'm gonna line up that mark into my cutting groove, and I'm gonna just turn my cardstock until that corner is in that cutting groove as well. And I'm gonna cut. I don't wanna cut up into the corner because that can kind of crush your corner, maybe tear your cardstock a little bit. So I'm gonna start on the flat side, right where that mark is, and I'm gonna cut down just like that. All right, so that is cut number 1. I'm gonna set that off to the side. All right, we're gonna do the same thing with this one. We're gonna line up that mark, except we're going to cut up to the top left corner. So line up that mark, turn your cardstock so that corner is in that groove. And we're gonna do the same thing starting on that straight side. We're going to cut up. Okay, so that is cut number 2. All right, now for our card base, we don't wanna cut, we wanna score. So I'm gonna actually move that cutting blade all the way down to the bottom. And what we are going to do, I'm gonna kinda trace what we're gonna do. We're gonna go from this score line all the way up to this corner. Okay, and then we're gonna go for this score line all the way to that corner, okay? And we're gonna do the same thing down here, but from this mark all the way down to this score line and then down to the edge. So I hope that makes sense. So let's line up this. We're gonna line up the corner. I'm just gonna kind of turn it. I'm actually gonna, let's see, how do I wanna do this? Let's see, I'm gonna put it in like this so I can get it all in. Okay, so I have the corner lined up. I think I'm gonna have to fold my cardstock in. I'm starting to think, how did I do this earlier? But I think I actually just used my ruler to do it, which you could absolutely do. But I'm gonna line up that mark right on that cutting groove. And you can look into the groove right here and see exactly where it's gonna score. So I'm actually gonna lift up my blade and start at the mark and score up, just like that. Okay, now my little pencil line is really a mess here, so I'm gonna go ahead and erase that pencil line. Okay, and now we're gonna do the same thing from here down to that score line at the bottom, or at that next score line. So I'm gonna close this. I'm gonna line up that little X that I made right into that cutting, or into that scoring groove. Make sure the point down here is lined up as well. And I'm gonna give that a score, just like that. All right, so now I've showed you how to do it with the paper trimmer. So now I'm gonna show you how to do it just with a ruler, in case you wanted to do it that way too. So use your ruler. I'm gonna use my take your pick tool. I have the scoring edge on this. And what you're gonna do is just put your scoring tool right where you marked, pivot your ruler until it hits that corner down there, and you're just going to score down just to that corner. This way is actually a little bit easier. I know that you have to have a little bit more control when scoring it this way, but I love scoring it just with the Simply Scored, or with the little tool there. It does make it you do have a little bit more control, but you do have to have like a strong, steady hand because you have to hold that ruler in place. All right, now I'm going to go through and just erase all my mark lines and any lines that I drew. Okay, looks good. All right, now we're just going to kind of burnish those lines a little bit. We're just going to kind of pinch them for right now. We don't need to fully burnish them, but you can kind of see where those score lines were now. They'll go all the way to the corner down there, and then this side as well. Okay. Fantastic. All right, this is really coming together. Now this one is going to fold up this way. So the front, your angle is going to go from the top left to the bottom right. You can give that a good burnish once you have that all in place. That's when you really want to burnish it. Now for your bottom ones, these are going to go, let's see, come on, there we go. This one needs to fold this way. A little bit of maneuvering, but it will work, I promise. So you're gonna fold this way. It doesn't want to fold for me. Okay, hold please. Let me make sure that I have all this correct. Why won't you fold up for me? This one, it goes behind this way. What? Oh, you know, this folds into the front. That's what's wrong. This one folds to the back. This one folds to the front. Okay, sorry, my there we go. Perfect. I was trying to force it to go the wrong way, and that's why it didn't want to go. So let's just go over that again real quick. So your front score line is going to go from the top left down to the right, and that is going to get tucked in behind your card. All right, your second score line is going to go, if we look at it kind of this way, it goes down to the bottom right, and that piece gets tucked up into your card. So I hope I didn't confuse you. I hope that makes somewhat sense. And when you open it up, both ends will pop up. I hope that makes sense. This is a little bit more involved card, maybe one that you're not going to make 1,000 of. But it's super cute. All right, it's time to glue down our DSP. I like to use liquid glue for this because I want to make sure that I get it all the way in the corners. You don't want to put a lot in the corners because you don't want it to kind of gush out. This will line up right on the front here. That little cut line, score line, they should line up pretty perfectly. And we're going to do the same thing with this one, the smaller one. Adhesive in those corners, but not too much. You don't want it to gush out. All right, perfect, just like that. And we're going to do the second side as well. A little bit in the corners. Okay, this one goes this way. I probably made that look a lot harder than it was, but when you start making these, it will make more sense when you're actually holding the cardstock. It did for me anyway. All right, and this one. And then again, if you wanted to do something in the center here, you absolutely could. You would use that same 3 3/4. Where's my measurements? DSP. 3 3/4 by 5 1/8 in the middle. But you would just do some marking and trimming just to make sure that you had everything all lined up. You'd have to mark it on the left side and mark it on the right side and then trim it twice. But you could absolutely do that. I have faith. All right, so that's our card. Isn't that fun? Now I told you we weren't going to do any stamping on this, but as you can see, this card, it won't stay closed because there's so much going on. So we're going to use a belly band to keep it closed. This is from that same package of DSP, the Pretty Prints, and this one is 1.5 by 12. And I don't know, where did my first belly band go? Let's close this up so we can see what this looks like. But on this belly band, I actually, instead of adhering it, I actually have a little, well, it's adhered, but I have a little banner that pokes out the side here, which I really love. So we're going to do that. I'm not going to score my belly band because it's DSP. It'll fold easily. So I'm just going to kind of line it up. Let's see. You might not need all 12 inches of this, which is fine. You can trim it off. So I'm just going to kind of pinch and burnish where it's going to go. You don't want it to be too tight or it won't slide on and off. So once I have it pinched, then I can come in and give it a little burnish with my bone folder, and that will ensure that I have a nice straight belly band. All right, now for this piece, I'm just going to cut this at a banner. So I'm going to kind of cut up the middle and then cut from each corner to that middle point. Okay, that will give me a really fun banner piece. And before I adhere this down, I'm just going to take that banner piece and just kind of curl up those edges, just like that. Okay, so it'll sit nice and flat, but you'll still have a little bit of dimension in that banner. All right, let's get this adhered down. So let's make sure this slides on and off, which it does. So we're going to adhere this down. I'm just going to use my Stampin' Seal because it's right here. I would use a really strong glue. Maybe Stampin' Seal Plus or even tear and tape would be good. Okay, so let's adhere this down just like that. We have our little edge, and then this slides up and down, so it'll slide on and off. And then you can embellish it however you want. You can use that Sweetest Cherries Bundle, or you can use any other bundle in your stash to really embellish it. All right, guys, I hope you loved this card. I know it kind of got a little chaotic in the middle, but I hope you make this card. It is so much fun. If you have any questions, please let me know. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe to my channel. That really helps me out, and that tells YouTube that you want to see more of my videos. Thank you again, and if you have questions, let me know. Have a great day. Bye.